All right, welcome everyone. We're talking about something huge today, the massive tech revolution happening in Indian banking. Now, if you're gearing up for exams, this is a topic you absolutely have to nail. So in this explainer, we're going to break it all down, the key ideas, the big challenges, and what's coming next. You ready? Let's get right into it.
Okay, so let's start with the big question, right? India's banking system is enormous, but is it actually ready for what's coming? I mean, you've got these new, super agile tech players that are just, well, they're changing the entire game. So we're going to dig into how exactly they're pulling this off, and more importantly, what this all means for our traditional banks.
So here's how we're going to break it all down. We've got 6 parts, starting with the foundation, then the lessons we've learned, the big clash between banks and fintechs, future challenges, a strategy for the banks, and finally, a quick revision for your exams. It's a really logical flow, perfect for structuring your answers. All right, let's kick things off with part 1, the foundation. Look, to really understand what's happening now, we've got to go back to the beginning, to the absolute bedrock of digital India. And that's a concept you really, really need to know for your exams: digital public infrastructure.
So what exactly is a digital public infrastructure, or DPI? Well, the key thing to get is that these aren't just some random government tech projects. The best way to think about it is like a digital highway. The government builds the road, the foundation, and then private companies, innovators, anyone can come and build all sorts of cool businesses and services right on top of it. And here are some perfect examples of this in action. You've got Aadhaar, right? That's digital identity for pretty much everyone. Then there's UPI, which made instant payments a reality for all of us. You see, these were all public sector projects, and they literally built the digital rails that the entire Indian economy rides on today. It's an incredible ecosystem.
Okay, that brings us right to part 2, the lessons. So with this incredible foundation in place, what are the big takeaways from India's, say, 25-year journey into digitization? What are the key points you can actually use in your answers? You can really boil it down to 5 core lessons. First, the public sector had to take the lead on the big stuff, like UPI and Aadhaar. Second, they treated these things like public goods, low cost, accessible to everyone. That led to the third point, a powerful public-private partnership. The government built the base, and private players innovated on top. This, in turn, allowed a whole wave of new fintech players to jump in. And finally, and this is crucial, it exposed just how slow the traditional banks were to adapt all this change. Now, that's 5 points to remember, which can be tough when you're under exam pressure, right? So to make it super easy for you, we've got a little mnemonic. All you have to remember is 3PNB. Let's quickly break that down. The 3 Ps are easy: public sector lead, public goods approach, and public-private partnership. The N is for the new players, the fintechs. And the B, that stands for the bank vulnerability that this whole revolution brought to light. So there you go, 3PNB. It's a fantastic framework for your answers. Okay, moving on to part 3, the conflict. Let's really zoom in on that last letter, B, for bank vulnerability. And there's no better way to understand this than by looking at the perfect case study, UPI. And wow, this comparison really tells a story, doesn't it? On one side, you've got the big banks, kind of stuck with their old, clunky IT systems and drowning in compliance costs. But on the other side, you have these nimble fintechs. They're asset-light, they're agile, they have access to tons of user data, and, this is the key, they saw the massive potential in UPI when the banks just didn't.
Yeah, and this quote right here just hits the nail on the head. It's pretty wild when you think about it, right? UPI is fundamentally a bank-to-bank transfer system. But when you think of UPI, what apps pop into your head? For sure, it's the non-bank ones. The fintechs completely captured the mind share of the user, and that just laid bare a huge innovation gap inside the banks. Which brings us to part 4, the horizon. And this is where things get really serious. That slowness to adapt we just talked about, it becomes way, way more dangerous when we look at what's coming next. We're not just talking about small changes anymore. We're talking about fundamental, maybe even existential threats to the whole idea of traditional banking. So threat number 1, the very idea of money is changing. Think about it. With private digital currencies and now CBDCs, central banks' digital currencies, you have new forms of money that could just bypass the entire banking system. And if a bank's core job is to create money through credit, well, this is a massive, massive challenge to their existence. And then there's threat number 2, blockchain.
At its heart, blockchain is a way to verify transactions without needing a trusted third party in the middle. Now, who has always been that trusted third party in finance? Yep, the banks. So this technology isn't just a competitor. It strikes right at the core of what a bank does. It challenges their entire reason for being the central authenticator.
Okay, so with these huge existential threats on the horizon, what's the game plan? What's the path forward? That's what Part 5 is all about. The strategy banks need to adopt if they want to do more than just survive. How do they actually thrive in this crazy new world? And here is the single most important word you need to remember for this whole topic: re-architectural. This isn't about slapping on a new mobile app and calling it a day. No way. This is about a complete top-to-bottom redesign. The game has changed. Being competitive isn't about having the biggest balance sheet anymore. It's all about how good you are with data and how flexible your tech is. So, here's a 5-point strategy perfect for your exam answers. 1. They have to modernize their core infrastructure. Get rid of those ancient IT systems. 2. They need to think like a platform, using APIs to work with the fintech ecosystem. 3. They've got to completely re-engineer their culture to actually reward innovation. 4. They need to build deep digital skills, not just in the IT department, but everywhere. And 5, and this is a big one, they need to form real, symbiotic partnerships with fintechs. Basically, learn to work with their rivals. All right, we've made it to the final part, Part 6, the revision. We've gone through a ton of information, so let's tie it all together in one final summary. This is your ultimate cheat sheet for quick recall right before the exam. So let's do a quick-fire round of the key takeaways. Remember, the core concept is digital public infrastructures, DPIs like Aadhaar and UPI. The key lessons, just remember our mnemonic, 3P and B. The big conflict between banks and fintechs, it came down to the fintech's tech edge versus the bank's legacy systems. The future threats, they're existential: digital currencies and blockchain. The nature of the change required, it's re-architectural, not just a small fix. And the path forward, banks have to modernize their core IT and build symbiotic partnerships. Seriously, focus on these bolded keywords. They're exactly what you need to make your answer stand out. And so we're left with this one big final question. Technology is literally rewriting the DNA of the financial world. It's not a matter of if this change happens anymore, but who is going to be in the driver's seat. So will our banks step up and lead this massive transformation, or will they just get dragged along by it? I tell you what, the choices they're making right now will decide everything.